It's I'm trying not to cry. No, I absolutely adore like my nephew, especially because.
Hi, my name is Emerald, and I am the host of Legacy Curators, where I curate stories to work on public speaking. Today, I am joined with Amaris Leiataua, the first Samoan lawyer from Compton, California, Aunty to Moimoi Lopa, and my big sister.
Wait, I just want to say, this is a huge honor. I'm a big fan of Legacy Curators.
Sis, thank you so much for joining my show today. Can you please introduce yourself to those who don't know you?
Yeah, my name is Amaris Leiataua. It's pronounced like glamorous, but it's the gla. I'm actually based out of Salt Lake City right now, but hometown for me is Compton, California.
Of all the titles, attorney, valedictorian, chief, where does being an auntie rank for you? And what life lessons are you most passionate about passing down to your nephew?
I would say auntie is a tie between auntie and daughter. I mean, it's. I'm trying not to cry. No, I absolutely adore like my nephew, especially because he came out of my twin sister, you know? So I think like it's for me like not only symbolic, like there's not only like an importance of. It's not only important because it's symbolic for me, like he's a literal descendant of my twin sister, but I think that like he also gives me a lot of hope for the future. And I also feel like I just have so much love to give, and just pouring it into like a literal descendant of my sister, it just makes everything like worthwhile. Like Moimoi Lopa has helped me get through like some of the toughest times of my life, like a divorce, like going through the bar was really hard, going through law school was really hard, and I think talking to him every day, despite him not understanding his impact on, you know, like, yeah, it's important to me. Like I'm really about this aunt life, and like eventually one day I want to be a mom, you know, but I feel like even if I had kids, it wouldn't, I don't know, like Moimoi Lopa is just like so important. Yeah, he is not replaceable at all.
Yeah. Sis, when do you feel the most connected to your cultural heritage? Is it through food, through music, through gatherings?
I think I feel most connected when I'm in Samoa. Recently, I was in Samoa for a Salva'i to get a title for my mom's family. And I think that was the most connected I felt to my culture, just because I was immersed in the language, in the practice, and then carrying a title, which as a woman is something is not as common. I feel like it's more common now than it was then, but to take on this duty of being a Matai, I felt very connected to my culture. I will also say that 3 days ago, I went to a Peruvian restaurant, and I texted Audrey about this, and I told her how drinking this specific drink and also eating like this food that I had in Peru when I lived there, it literally made me cry. It just took me back to the people in Peru and just the time that I had there.
You said Matai and Salva'i. Can you tell the viewers that don't speak Samoan what that means?
Yeah, like to translate it quite literally, a Matai is a chief, and a Salva'i is basically the ceremony that one undertakes to become a chief. And even the ceremony itself, it's not the end all be all, it's also not the beginning. Before the Salva'i or the ceremony actually takes place, there's discussion amongst family, there's money, there's travel to Samoa, there's preparing attire, customary attire for it.
Amaris, I love that you brought that up, because that leads us right into my next question. Holding a chief title is a profound honor. How has stepping into that role connected you deeper to your heritage, and how does this influence how you carry yourself every day?
That's a really good question, because like quite obviously we're not living in Samoa, we're in the diaspora. And so as a transnational chief, I think there's different duties that are expected of us. because we live in America and not in Samoa that are different, but I feel like the responsibility to family and village are the same. I've said this to my family in Samoa, but my mom's body is physically here. Our mom's body is physically here in the US, but her heart and mind are on Samoa. And I feel like as a chief, I really aspire to have that same like yearning to Samoa that she has, you know, and I think she has that experience because she grew up there. And my experience is sort of based on her experience and my love for her. And I think there's that factor of being transnational ties. I also think there's responsibility to family that doesn't really differ whether or not you're in Samoa or not. And a lot of it is economic sustenance. We're supporting them by remittances to Samoa, and in return, they're maintaining our culture, our language, and our lands. So
you talked about transnational responsibilities being different. Can you give us some examples on what that looks like?
Yeah, I think, for example, what I said, economic sustenance. In Samoa, I think the minimum wage per hour is like $3 an hour.
US?
$3 an hour, which is about $1.25 US an hour. And I think that's where transnational ties come in, is that we're providing them with like economic support, like financial support. And in return, this is what I was saying, they're maintaining the language, they're maintaining the culture, they're physically there in Samoa. And I think that's exchange.
So what I hear you saying is that you're the favorite go to when it comes to the financials?
I mean, I think when people hear lawyer, they assume, oh my gosh, she's so rich, which I will say though, like I make a ton more money than I did when I was a teacher. And I do make a lot of money in comparison to
$1 an hour.
Yeah, especially in comparison to $1 an hour. But honestly, I don't even look at it like that. I'm so generous with my time and my money. Like anytime my parents ask me, anytime someone reaches out to me, I'll give what I can. And it's also like when I feel like it. So it's like they're not asking me, but I feel like supporting this family at this time, I'm going to send you some money, you know? So yeah, the Western Union points are adding up for sure. Yeah.
I +1 on all of that.
Oh my gosh, I gotta write a book on this. Okay.
Tell Legacy Curators first.
Jeez.
You're currently in a chapter where you're recently divorced, thriving, and happier, at least seems happier than ever. What did unlearning old expectations teach you about personal freedom and choosing your own happiness?
Oh my gosh, I gotta write a book on this. Okay.
Tell Legacy Curators first.
Jeez. I think like being a Samoan American Mormon woman growing up in a very conservative household with immigrant parents, there's certain expectations of you, and one of them being marriage. You know, like as members of the church, you're singing about going to the temple when you're in the primary, like when you're like 2 years old, you start singing about it. And so like, and also as like a woman who has goals and attains them, like I had a certain timeline for when I needed to be married, and I needed to fulfill like certain timelines that I made up in my own head based on my upbringing and based on what I thought like success looks like as like a brown woman, you know. What I've learned mostly from this experience is that it's okay to start over. I think like as the oldest, I felt all this pressure about everyone's always looking to me. You know, everyone thinks I'm just like this girl, you know, and while like I appreciate the love in that, like it also comes with a lot of pressure to perform, a pressure to not make any mistakes. And so like the decision to get divorced was a very difficult decision, but it was the first time in my life where I chose myself.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was such an empowering experience to let go of all of these you know, like notions of what I needed to be and what I was taught, you know, and actually just choosing myself and my whole happiness. And now I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm missing out. Like, you know, like not just trying to perform, you know, based on what people expect of me. but actually choosing myself. And I think it's been such such an eye-opening like year that's brought me a lot of peace and a lot of happiness, because now I'm making decisions based on what makes you happy, Amaris. You know, like.
Well, I think, not to cut you off, sis, but you kind of led into another question: is give an example of what makes you happy as of today.
What makes me happy?
That may have not been present when you were married.
I think it's just easier for me to now have like the spirit of gratitude. Just like, I'm just so grateful, you know, that I get to fly on a plane and pay for my own money. Like, I am so grateful I get to see my parents. I'm grateful I get to see my siblings and my nephew. I'm grateful just for every little thing. Whereas I feel like when I was married, I was just so tied up in someone else's life, you know, and trying to make that work versus just figuring out what I want, you know.
Yeah.
And I also feel like I've gained a lot of self-respect back, and I feel like I've gained a lot of confidence back, and just going back to like pre-marriage, you know, I just feel so much better. And
just keep that one as, you know, I got this also. Okay. You hold a formal legal degree and a traditional chief title. How do those two forms of leadership... This is why there's no kids on the set. Okay, go again.